Yes, guys, welcome back to the Once You're In podcast. We've just decided we're not going to tell you what episode it is because we don't know what episode it is. So basically, we're going to scrap that. And I think for the past 89 or whatever it is, I've said this is episode this. So we're going to stop that. Just because it's hard to keep track of it, but
we'll make sure to know. We'll make sure to know for the big milestones, like 100.
Yeah, we will know because it'll be closer to the time. But you'll still see it. It'll still come up, especially on YouTube. On Spotify, we've never put the actual number. Anyway, I hope everyone's well. Welcome back to the podcast. Hopefully, you may not be able to tell, but hopefully you can tell. We've upgraded our lighting system, so we've got.
We should hope. Yeah, we spent a serious amount of money for lighting.
We've got two big bright lights now, one coming towards me and one coming towards Reece. Obviously, we've still got the tree. We've got our accolades in that corner, if you can see. Is there anything else that you think that we should add to the studio setting? Please just ask. We have tried to sort out the wires a little bit better as well, so hopefully that looks better.
Yeah, we need to run some serious business expenses, so anything that costs a bit of money.
Josh Croggan messaged me today saying we should get different chairs.
Different chairs?
Armchairs, so they're not office chairs.
Okay, potentially so.
I think if we do...
What about a hammock? That'd be quite funny. Yeah. Imagine we should have like a joint hammock.
We need, if we're going to get armchairs, we need a lower table. That's kind of how I envisioned it initially.
Yeah, we've got a few tweaks to make, but yeah, I felt like when was the last time we did a podcast? It was before you went away.
Yeah, it was the day before I went away.
Okay, so when was that? 10 days ago?
No, it was a couple of days before. Cause we did it on Monday, didn't we?
Yeah, so there's a good amount. So almost 2 weeks. 2 weeks tomorrow. Wow. Yeah. Time's flown by.
Catch up?
Yeah. How you been, mate? I mean, should we go through? We'll go through what we did today, and then we'll go through the last 2 weeks. So today, we were at the first show of the season for the PCA First Timer show. It was my client Eddie took second in the junior men's physique division. The guy that won was pretty good, if I'm honest. Very good. Lineup was good. Like third and fourth place. Like, to be fair, they both had more muscle than Eddie, but Eddie was going into it as a natural individual, which I think he said so on an Instagram story and in person multiple times. So he's won the natural. Like he was the best. He was the best natural in the class because he was the only natural one in the class. But yeah, he did really well. Looked really good. I coached him for the last 4 to 5 weeks of the prep, so it was a little bit of a rocky sort of start from where he came to me from, but we landed well, and it was a smooth project, and now it's a case of getting into a productive off season, and hopefully next time he steps on stage taking one place better. So that was today. So we pretty much we came here this morning with the idea to get a podcast episode done. We then realised that we probably wouldn't be able to with the setup of the lights. Eddie wasn't supposed to be on till the second part, but the clocks went back. So today's been a little bit all over the place. I'm running off minimal sleep in a prep. God, I need a deload immediately because I had to get up, get my cardio, prep food, all the sort of boring stuff that you just, if anything, have to do. We then met here at 10ish, got the podcast set up, went to the show. We then went bowling. So we're saying we're busy, but we went bowling.
We could have come back and done the podcast straight away.
Yeah, we went bowling with Jack Eagles. The first game, Jack won.
Only just came back, didn't he?
Yeah, and then the second game, I did a really good game, but Finn was even better somehow, which was a little bit frustrating. It's probably my top 5 bowling games. And still not good enough. So I was a bit annoyed with that. So that wasn't good. And then we came back. We did a few little reels things that Sam might be editing in, where if there's anyone clapping, going, "Yes, guys, follow along."
The claps won't be in there.
No, they won't.
We've done some sound bites. So for the clips on the on YouTube and maybe at the start and ends of the podcast, at times we'll be either plugging our coaching or plugging to. Send you over to Instagram or TikTok or that kind of stuff.
So for the people that listen every week, we apologise, but it's for the people that probably don't listen every week and they go, "Oh wait, they have Instagram?"
But the people that do listen every week, we did say that we do really appreciate your story tags.
Keep them coming.
Thank you very much.
Right, so
on that note, just quickly, we haven't got the iPad, you can probably see, so we do apologise for that, but the numbers are going up.
Yes.
Do you want me to get up the numbers?
Yeah, you can get up the numbers, and I'll have a chat regarding. We'll have a chat regarding where things are in. So, current situation, current update for both of us. As I've said, it's been close to 2 weeks. Finn's been away in Morocco. We'll go into that in a short while once Finn has got the numbers up. For myself, I am currently 7 weeks out. I think to the day. I think it's a Sunday. Either way, 7 weeks out. First refeeder prep actually kicked off Monday, Tuesday, and to be fair, this last week and a half to 2 weeks has been a pretty easy sort of ride with how things are. Like body weight has been pretty much like the last week it's been bouncing up and down, which is the first time in the entire prep, probably just the refeed and kind of the inclusion of training volume going back up after a devolume and a deload sort of rotation. But currently 103, I was 102.6 kilos, but around my weekly average around 103 kilos over the last week, and I'm in a really good spot, to be fair, with 7 weeks to the first show that I need to be 100% for. Definitely going to be hopping into an earlier show, just a bit of a warm up, because I'm not going to say ahead. I'm not ahead relative to hop in. I'm going to hop in ghost mode, you know, where hop in, you know, where you don't announce it and you just turn up and
hop in.
Yeah, I just hop in, bro. So yeah, for where I'm at, like things are good, conditions in a really good spot, like really happy, feeling really good. Like, I feel like this is the smoothest prep out of 2, so it's not really like I've got too. Yeah, it's not really I've got too many to compare it against. But genuinely, this is the best spot I've ever been in at this composition and condition. And yeah, like I said, first refeed went in on Monday and Tuesday, gained a little bit of body weight, which was good. And it's literally been a case where I made my first food increment, my first food adjustment over the last like 2 days for the last like 3 weeks. So
2 days ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 days ago. No, it was yesterday.
Saturday morning.
Yeah, Saturday morning. So pretty much been a case where I dropped like 250 calories off like baseline training a day and non-train day food. That should see me at an all-time low of around like 101.5-ish kilos. And like we've said this, the plan of action now is going to be to pretty much like pull away about like 0.8 to a kilo from my lowest and then refill up and then just rinse and repeat until
every time you see a new kilo.
Yeah, so pretty much it would just be a case of finding like an all-time new low and then kind of, let's say, just filling up and then doing that again, and then I'll probably have to do that 3 or 4 times, and I reckon I'll be pretty much like just bang on.
Sub 100 kilos.
Yeah, I reckon like 99-ish kilos will probably be the lowest.
99.
Yeah, and then it'll be a case of probably be around 100 kilos on stage full. So to consider I'm like just under 103 now, like not really that much more to come off, which is nice. It's a nice sort of feeling, and I think it's probably the reason why, like stress-wise, it's almost non-existent. Like the large majority of the fat is gone. And when that's the case, it's just a thing of just making sure to train as well as you can and just turn up and just tick boxes and go from there. So, yeah, genuinely in a really awesome spot myself. Do you want to get into the Spotify analytics? I can see Finn's awful. Like, we should be talking about this, but Finn's just looking over at the analytics like, can I say this?
Can I say the numbers? Yeah.
Right, come on, tell us.
I like the numbers. And then I'll talk about my prep as well.
You're more than welcome. We're 2 days in, mate.
Yeah, like, exactly. There's a lot to cover, mate.
Yeah.
To be fair, the first 2 days is probably the biggest change that you're going to have.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, mate. I've pulled away like 300 carbs. I'm not going to do that again at any other point, am I?
You're not hungry?
I am struggling.
Mate, are you sure those carbs aren't too low already?
I've lost my glycogen.
Shout out to Beth.
Glycogen stores.
Shout out to Beth Fitness, who like week 2 of prep goes, Reece, your carbs not too low already?
Yeah.
Yeah, cheers, Beth. Yeah, cheers.
Anyway, so analytics. I've got it on the screen now. This is for Spotify. So, to be fair, it's pretty cool. All time, we've had 45,000 plays.
That's quite cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
506 on average per episode. 794 people have listened to the podcast in the last 7 days. It's pretty cool. And we have 589 Spotify followers. So that's the number that we used last time. I think it was like 565 or something last time. So that's gone up.
Yeah.
So, and then on the ratings, we've got 292.
That's good, though.
That is good. Can we get that up to 300 by next time?
How many YouTube subscribers have we got?
YouTube, we're only on 172. So
I feel like that could be better.
Yeah, I don't think people have realised quite yet that we're over on there. On Spotify, it's not changed. It's just it's growing. It's growing as we're #leveling up. But because we've switched to a new YouTube, I think it's taken a bit of time to get across there. So just get across there. Well, if you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure you subscribe on the YouTube. But anyway, that's enough of the plugs. So
actually, some juicy content. So Finn, you're 2 days into prep.
Yeah, juicy.
You're hungry. You're struggling.
I'm okay so
far.
Finn
said on Friday, first day of prep, he was like, I was thinking today, like, I get to go out for a meal with Shannon. Bearing in mind he's been on holiday for 2 weeks or a week and a bit of that, where he would have been eating off plan every night,
every day,
and
every meal,
pretty much every meal. Yeah, if you think about it,
every meal.
Yeah, and pretty much the first day of coming back into prep, and he's like, getting off plan meal tonight with my girlfriend. No, unfortunately not. You're prepping now, buddy.
I wasn't thinking, I really want that.
No, it's routine.
Just, I've done it for the past, like what? However long
I've done it every night for the last.
Mate, 125 weeks every
night.
not every Friday.
Every night off plan meal.
But usually once a week.
Yeah.
Like, we've been, like, me and Shannon, because we don't have any meals together. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, the same with you and tonight. Like, you might sit and have a meal together, but it's not the same meal.
Yeah.
So, like, when you actually do have a meal together, it's nice. So I was like, oh, it's Friday, and because I've done it for so long now, it's like, oh, like, what should we have tonight? And I just laughed to myself. I was like, literally just started prepping. I'm thinking, like, oh, what should I have tonight? Like, no, you're having
Food
what you've already got.
Food
like,
focus is too high, bro.
so yeah, but no, I lost £4 on holiday. So obviously I went away. I went to Morocco for 7 days. I came back £4 lighter, which I expected. I actually wrote down that I'd start prep at 193, and I went away at 197, and I started prep at 193. So I kind of just expected that to happen, and that was from kind of still eating what I wanted, still keeping protein high, but eating what I wanted to an extent, and staying relatively active. The hotel was massive, so like I was getting plenty of steps in anyway. If you want to see what my actual diet was, I did do a post on Instagram as to
100 grams of fat per day.
Yeah, that was an estimation.
Yeah.
Probably would be around that, mate. All the food's cooked in oil. Like
when I went to Turkey, I was having because there was no egg whites or anything, so I was having 4 to 5 eggs. 4 to 5 whole eggs.
Yeah, this is where you need to.
Okay, you were saying like you were scraping off the egg whites and there was no boiled eggs where I went.
Come on, don't lie.
I don't think there was.
Just didn't think of it.
Yeah, maybe. So what were you doing? You were
so
peeling
this is
off.
what I was doing. Right, the first day I got an omelette.
Yeah.
And you can ask what you want. So I was like, can I have egg white? And they were like, well, so they didn't really get it. It was a bit of a ball ache. In Egypt, when we were there for 2 weeks, it was so good because I had like the same egg man every day.
Yeah.
You know? He knew after the first day, he was like, oh, 3 egg whites, 2 whole eggs. Like, he just knew who I was. But this time it was a bit different. So basically,
by the way, do you want to put that you put a voice on there? That was
that racist.
A bit racist.
It was an
apologies to any
voice.
Egyptians are out
If
there. Mohammed Salah, if you happen to be listening.
Sorry if that's not your accent.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, they were just doing 2 whole eggs, and they didn't really get what I was on about. Okay. But anyway, I had that. But then the amount of oil that they put on it was a joke. So like, after that, I was like, I'm not having that. It was like, it's too much.
Yeah.
But then I saw that they were doing poached eggs at a different bit. So I was like, oh, cool, I'll have poached eggs, because then it's just like, it's literally just in water.
Yeah.
So I had poached eggs as well. And then that was at the point where I was like, oh, I could just have the egg whites off of this. Because it's a poached egg. And some of them were a little bit harder than I'd like. So I could just have the egg whites. And then I realised there was boiled eggs. And I was like, well, that's easy. Like, just have the egg whites. So after the first day, I started getting 2 fried eggs instead of the omelette. And then 3 boiled eggs and just having the 3 egg whites.
Fair enough.
And then I had 2 protein yogurts, or 2 low, they're called natural yogurt, that's all it said. It was still like 3 grams of fat in each one, and they were like tiny pots.
Really?
Yeah. But the creamy ones were like 7 grams of fat.
Yeah. You get a protein yogurt, and you're like, oh, great, like just 10
well,
grams of fat.
It just said natural, and I was like, it was natural and then
natural.
creamy. So I was like, well, that's the lighter one.
I'm getting the natural one.
Natural.
No,
yeah.
I'm natural.
The creamy one obviously had tren in it.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, my diet's on Instagram, what I had anyway. But yeah, that was £4 down, which I kind of expected. Mainly just due to dropping off a lot of fatigue. Obviously, a week away, you're reducing stress, not training. Although I did train twice, but they were like not very
the
difficult
inflammation,
sessions.
fullness, etc.
Like the equipment in the gym, it would have been difficult to have very demanding sessions, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good.
I
would definitely recommend Morocco. I think a lot of people ask me like, oh, would you recommend it? How was the weather? I would recommend it, and it was red hot. It was like mid-20s, but it felt like mid-30s. It was like hot air, and the UV was really high. So we burned like pretty much straight away. But
so if you want skin cancer,
it was really good. Yeah, if Morocco's your place.
Yeah, Morocco's your place.
Yeah, no, the holiday was great. The first day was a bit stressful because the flight was delayed, and then we went to the wrong hotel because we thought we were at a different one. So yeah, we ended up getting to our hotel and like actually settled into our room like 6 hours late.
Did you like go check in and they were like, yeah, we don't have your name?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, the whole thing, mate.
That's a nightmare.
There's 2 hotels.
Did you not look at it and go, this ain't look like the place on the
They're the same hotel. They're both called Riu Agadir. They're both called the same thing. Riu Palace Agadir, but one of them is Agadir Tagazu, and one of them is just the Agadir one. So
when I went to Cuba, we waited in a line, and there was like 2 hotels in the same venue, and there was one like Star Prestige area, and one that was just normal. And we were in this line like for the normal place for like honestly about an hour and a half. They got to the front and they're like, we don't have your name. And then we were like, this is where we showed them, and they're like, oh, yeah, you're just over there.
Where no one was.
Yeah, no one was there. And then we got checked in, and it was like 10 times nicer, and we were like, sound. Yeah.
So the first one we went to, so basically there's 2, it was called Riu Palace, and there's one in Agadir and one in Tagazout, but they were both called, I'm sure they were both called like Riu Palace Agadir, but then the other one was called Tagazout. It said Tagazout after it, which was like half an hour away. So we got a taxi. It was like 15 quid. It wasn't a problem. But then even when we got the taxi, so it was cash, and we were like, well, we don't have any. Like, it's called Moroccan dirhams. We're like, we don't have any. And he was like, oh, don't worry, I'll drive you. I'll find an ATM, and then you can get money out. So we did that, and then the first machine we went to wasn't working. And this was after we're already like 5-6 hours later than we should have been. So I was just like, I don't get like stressed, but I was just pissed off. I was like, this is fucking annoying. Like, I've missed out on half a day of my holiday already with stuff that's just didn't need to happen. But then anyway, got the money out, got there. The hotel was class. But even then, when I got there, it was so big. I was like, just fucking get me my room. Like, I don't know where I'm going. It's massive. I'm lost. Like, and then we got to the room. We just settled, and it was a really good week. Just chilling out. It was nice. Like I say, I would definitely recommend it for people who are maybe thinking or have thought of going to Morocco. It's not even that far. It's like 3.5 hour flight to get to Africa. I think I don't know, but I imagine it's probably the closest place to us in
Tunisia
Africa.
is in somewhere in Africa, and that was like 4 hours.
Yeah,
and that was
Egypt's about 4, isn't it? They're all like North Africa, aren't they? So no, it was good. And then started prep when I got back. Not the night I got back, but the day after. Guess what food I had the night I got back?
I'm not sure.
Guess.
What do you mean, like what do you mean the night you got back? Did you start prep the night you got back, or the day you got back?
The day after.
Oh, when you got back, I don't know. Was that your last off-plan meal? Did you have an off-plan meal when you landed? I thought so. You didn't.
Well, guess. So I was on the flight, right? So I'd had normal breakfast.
Burrito.
No, listen. I'd had normal breakfast, and then I got a tuna sandwich, which to be fair, there's loads of tuna in it. It was pretty good. That was from the airport, and then we were on the plane. We were sat again waiting. So the plane was delayed for 2 hours again on the way back. So I hadn't eaten for a while. So when we got back, I went to M&S in the airport, the Birmingham one, and I got 3 packets of prawns. Yeah. Because it made it digest like so well, and it was, I think they're like 20 odd grams in each. And it's like very minimal carbs and fat. But then I was still way off like what my targets would have been, and like I still knew I needed another meal. Like I still needed another protein serving.
So I went to Five Guys.
Nah, come on. What would you have in that scenario? I still need another protein serving. I've had loads of food off plan throughout the week on holiday anyway. What do I fancy that's a good protein serving, nice food, last meal before prep?
Oh mate, I wouldn't know. Oh, Basin. No, what do you have then?
Nando's.
Oh, Nando's. I wouldn't say Nando's would be.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's exactly why, because I'd had 7 days of having different food. I just wanted like just a chicken wrap. Like I literally got a chicken wrap and then the sweet potato starter.
Fair enough. That's really good.
It is good.
Yeah, that's good. That's one thing I actually like. If
I
was to think, Perinese, the sweet potatoes.
And I did get corn on the cob.
What we need to do is like, what's your Nando's order, guys?
Comment below what's your Nando's order.
Yeah, drop us a message.
We never get any comments. I mean, we've got 172 subscribers. What do we expect?
It's tragic, isn't it? So I just need.
Should we just stop the video now?
Yeah, just stop. We don't know why we're doing this. We're just thanks to the people listening on Spotify, YouTube. Come on, step it up. So started prep. What, you've been 2 days now? Do you want to go through the changes? You said 300 carb you pulled away. So let's go nutrition.
350
nutrition. What was your manipulations from food prior?
I literally just pulled away 350 carbs on trading days and then 250 on rest days.
Protein come down?
Protein the same. Fats the
protein?
Same.
Do you know your macros off by heart?
Protein is 260 on a trading day. Fats are protein 260, carbs 500, and fats 50. And then on a rest day, protein 250, so 10 grams down. Carbs 250 because it was 500 and a half it. And fats 60.
That's similar, like very similar. Like it's quite funny how that works. Like our percentages, and obviously we probably think relatively similar. Mine were a touch higher because my food was a little bit higher. Yeah, but in reality, like if you were to look at the percentage difference, it was very, very similar in the sense of how things are. And it's funny because, like, again, you could probably say, what, 300? You pulled 350 grams of carbs away, but it's like you could have, if you were to start at 600, you would have lost weight. But
probably not a huge amount.
No, you'd probably have a little bit of a fluid fluctuation. You might lose a pound, 2 pounds, but eventually you're going to get that down to 500. Then it's going to go to 400.
That's what we always say, don't we? Like, especially with with that thing. I know you were joking about what Beth said, but it's true. Like, people sort of think, oh, your food's too low too early, or again, like we've said before, like, oh, you're using your tools too soon. It's like, no, that's kind of the best way to do it. Yeah. Like, if anything, why look at your food and go, oh, probably shouldn't move it yet because
it's going to get lower.
Yeah, if anything, be like, right, well, I'm not going to finish prep on 500 carbs on training days. I might when I'm like refeeding, fueling back up, but what is the lowest point my food's likely going to get on? or get down to, it's not going to be 500 carbs. It might be like on a training day 200. Like if you're lucky, it might not go much lower than that on a training day. On a rest day 100. If you're lucky than that, it might not go much lower. So don't be afraid to get down towards that, like when it's needed.
Yeah, exactly. When you've got body fat, be aggressive. Cardio-wise, expenditure. So you're already doing cardio, weren't you?
Yeah, I was doing half an hour every morning.
But the intensity pushed up, didn't you?
Yeah, so basically I was doing half an hour. I started at 7:15 till 7:45. I basically just start at 10 past now till 7:45. So I do an extra 5 minutes a day. And my heart rate before was like generally about 110 on average, 110 to 120. And now I'm just making sure that it stays above 120. Yeah. So I just basically, instead of having the recumbent bike on setting 4, I have it on setting 5, and it's like the same speed.
Yep. And then steps.
Steps, to be honest, like I tracked my steps previously, but I wasn't like, I have to hit this goal. Like my step average was about 8 to 10,000 without having to worry about it. I went on a walk in the morning. I'd do a walk pre-workout, like on the treadmill, like 5 minutes to 10 minutes, walk around the gym, and then I go on a walk in the evening for like literally, it's around the block, it's about 2 minutes. And that would get me about 8 to 10,000. So I've not changed anything other than that. Now I just have to check my watch now and again and think, actually, I need to go on a bit of a walk to make sure I hit 10,000 every day. But yeah, that's it. Nothing else really needs manipulating. Like sleep's the same. I wouldn't change sleep before prep.
Yeah, change sleep.
I'm gonna change my routine. 3 more hours sleep.
Yeah, it's funny because like, if anything, there's literally been not a lot of change. Like in the sense of, it wasn't like I was doing 4,000 steps, so I've had to double my steps, or it wasn't where you were doing, let's say, no cardio, and you're like, right, I'm doing cardio, so it's such a chore. Like I remember my last prep, I was doing daily cardio by the end of it. And I remember thinking to myself, like, Jesus Christ, this is like a bit of a ball ache. But because I've been doing daily cardio now for the last year.
It just feels normal.
Yeah, it's normal. Like, I enjoy it. Like, it's
that's
really...
why, like, we literally spoke about it the other day, and we were sort of saying, like, I'd much rather not take my cardio out than take my cardio out.
100%.
Like,
we said before, like, check-in-wise, and this is, again, like, quality of service. Sam, plug the... If you want coaching,
quick ad.
quick ad. Hey guys, if you enjoy the podcast, coaching links available. But we've said before, like, if you imagine, let's say, the life of an online coach, we get up, first thing we do is going to either eat a meal or potentially crack on with check-ins. But what we do is we go for a walk, and then we'll do some cardio, or for me it's cardio and then a walk. And I would much rather, like, there's been a few days, not in this prep because I'm doing daily cardio in the morning fasted, but more so, let's say in my off season, where potentially if I had a client show or whatever, I'd get up a bit early and I'd just crack on with check-ins. And the first like 3, 4, 5 check-ins, you're still half asleep. You're not as cohesive. Your general level of kind of focus isn't there. And I'm not going to say like a client's going to notice, but it's the same as like, for example, I don't do check-ins. I try not to post-workout, and if I do, it's because they're usually late.
Yeah, it's maybe like, 1 or 2.
Yeah, 1 or 2, because I'm just no way near as concise or as actually kind of applicable to the actual what I need to say. And obviously over here at Team RFit and FK Physiques, we pride ourselves upon the best quality coaching service available. And obviously
links
as well,
below.
Yeah, links below.
Application forms
below. But
no, it's true.
No,
like
it is one of them.
We say like, I'd much rather get up, go on a walk, because the thing is as well, like as soon as I'm out on a walk, that's work mode. Like, that's me like, okay, now I'm working.
I feel like
I'm straight on my phone.
I'm almost
to check-ins.
Whenever I'm at Sanaya's, I'll sometimes, depending on my workload on that day, I'll go to Pure Gym with her. She gets up at like 6, so I'll just literally get up with her, go to Pure. I'll do the stairs, so it's a little bit different from the bike, and then I head back. And there was like a few times that she's got a treadmill now, hers, and I go for a walk. Like the second I get back, because we've already walked there, I've done like 3,000 steps. I'll have about another 2,000 to 3,000 to do. I immediately will be like, right, I'm starting work. And she was like jumping on the treadmill, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, she was like, I do a few steps. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm carrying on with the walk. Like, I'm going to make sure I need to get back to WhatsApps. Like, it's quite weird how my mind is like, I can't just sit around, and the second I'm out and about, it's like, right, crack on, work. This is when it gets started.
Like,
yeah, and if I don't, even 5 minutes, I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, it's once you start building that routine. I was saying the same thing to a client the other day. I was like, once you have that routine in place, like, as soon as one thing falls out of it, like, it feels like, everything's gone wrong and the day's been ruined. It's like, well, it hasn't. You can just pick it back up again, but it's more difficult than if you just keep that routine. And I literally said to him my whole routine, and I said it within like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I said to him, I was like, that's because I've done that for the past probably like 2 years. I was like, I had a good routine obviously last year before I competed, and even before that, but it changes, doesn't it? And you build more efficient sort of systems in place.
And I think you can get a bit slack in certain, like in a gaining phase, it's very easy to be like, okay, I'm not doing cardio, potentially could get up maybe 10, 20 minutes later. Yeah. That 10, 20 minutes over 6 months turns into an hour later. And then you go to bed a bit later, you're pushing your meals back, your sleep quality's impacted.
Feel for doing that?
Oh, 100%. If you're waking up and you're like, going and having a meal straight away, food's high, like it's very easy. And then that's the reason why you hear people say, oh, I felt really sluggish, I feel unproductive.
I've not got a very good appetite.
Yeah, and it's like, because you
have a like pull back, I think I need to diet. Like, you shouldn't need to diet in a long-term gaining phase, really.
No.
Like, unless you've gone a bit too far and it's got a bit excessive. But like, look how, like I always say, like, look how fat I was. Like, I was very fat.
Oh mate, you were awful.
I was massive.
You were fully blown.
I wasn't lethargic in any way, was I?
No,
I wasn't
no.
struggling to breathe or. Like, I've heard people who have been lighter than I was then and a lot taller going, oh, I just can't hack it.
But then also, I do think, and this is like me being completely honest, and we've said it before, it's so easy just to complain about where you're at. Like, people make out that, like, oh, bodybuilding is so hard. Oh, so the low food, the high food. In reality, bodybuilding is, like, I'd say somewhat challenging at the peak of a phase if it's your first ever time doing it, or if it's something new to you. But in reality, like, it's just a case of, do you actually want to make improvements? If so, fucking eat your food. And if you don't want to make improvements, don't eat your food. Or likewise, if you want to get lean, do you want to just make sure to tick your boxes? Like, I think it's quite a common thing, and it's human nature to be like, oh, I'm grinding this, I'm doing this. It's everything has to be so much like, I'm putting so much time, putting so much work into it. In reality, it's like, congrats, you turn up to the gym, you train, you eat your food, you go to sleep, you take supplements.
It's grinding, though, that.
No, but it's not. It shouldn't be. I don't think it should be perceived.
#grinding.
But I think it is to some people, because I think to some it's a chore. Some people, like, just getting to the gym every session of the week is like, oh my God.
The reason that it's a chore is that they haven't established that routine yet.
Yeah.
So that it's constantly like, or almost like they're trying to break out of habits that they've been in previously. Like, I'll have clients who like say almost find it difficult to just go to the gym, which is like fine, but the reason that you find it difficult to go to the gym is because you've not built that kind of routine yet. You know, I don't even think about going to the gym.
No,
I don't have to think. I end up turning up there. It's like you're on autopilot.
Yeah, but I feel like even when I started training, for me it was the other way around. It was like, oh, I need to take a rest day, but I don't want to take a rest day.
Yeah,
like I was always very much.
But that's I think because, like, we enjoyed it starting up anyway. Like, I think like for some people, we were always sporty growing up and stuff. A lot of people weren't. So you get some people who want to get in good shape, but it's completely out of their routine, their lifestyle.
They're just general person.
Yeah,
so their personality is not to train.
Makeup isn't to be athletic, but they want to be. So then you have to be like, right, okay, well, this is going to be more difficult than somebody who loves being athletic. So you just got to find. Again, it's sort of just ways of getting them into that and getting those habits in place. But I was just going to use like an analogy of, like, you know, when you learn to drive, like, you have to think about everything. Yeah. But then now, like, when you drove back from Birmingham just then, did you even think about, like, much?
No.
You know, you were working on your phone.
Oh, don't say that. Don't go on your phone. That's 3 points. Honestly, 6 points, actually.
It's true, though, isn't it? Like, you have to think, like, when you're doing your driving lessons, you have to think about everything. Checking every single mirror. When you're changing gear, you're thinking about everything. You're thinking about how slowly you're coming off the clutch. Like, you're thinking about everything. That's the same kind of thing when you're getting into a new routine or if you're training. Like, if you're getting into training, you're having to think so much about every single movement. You're having to think so much about every single meal, and you're tracking every single meal on MyFitnessPal, and it all looks like just random numbers.
But the thinking part of it's huge. Like, in the sense of, I think it's a good thing. Like, if we imagine, let's say, trying to build a routine and, like, kind of trying to establish habits, like, I've seen so many studies that actually just suggest that, like, thought towards the actual action will help significantly. So if you associate an action towards a negativity of, oh, my food's so high, oh, I've got to get to the gym, the likelihood of that almost like attributing towards you just going, oh, I don't want to do it, is quite common. And unfortunately, like I said, we live in a world nowadays where everything is like, oh, this is hard, this is a challenge. And, like, I almost assess and think, like, you should know within yourself, like, is this for you? Do you want to do it? Like, do you want to... Not everyone has to be a bodybuilder. Not everyone has to step on stage or whatever. Like, if I was to do this prep and go, you know what, it's probably not for me, I'd just be like, right, cool, I'll just focus on training, focus on coaching and doing that. That's not going to be the case. But some people will do one prep and they go, wasn't for me. Some people do one prep and go, sick. Like after my first prep, I was like, I could do this again within 6 months. I could do this again next year. I wanted to. I would have if I would have been at the level I wanted to be. Where some people, they do a prep and they go, yeah, that's me done for a few years. I need a bit of time to recover. So
if you're thinking about, like you say, it is good to think about at least trying to have positive thoughts towards an action.
Yeah.
But do you have a positive thought toward like brushing your teeth or going in the shower?
But for us, that wouldn't be a challenge because it's just a case of that's what you do.
Yeah,
but I bet to some people, like literally just waking up and having a shower, or like getting a weekly haircut or a monthly haircut would be like a bit of a challenge. And I bet to some people that's like getting to the gym. Like sticking to a training plan, sticking to their diet. I'd find it crazy to think that like I would miss a session or miss a cardio session. I couldn't even think about waking up and not doing my cardio.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like you almost have to look at it from on a smaller scale and then work it up. So like if someone's like, oh, I missed a session this week, like you can almost then think, well, like right, okay, why did that happen? Oh, it was this got in the way or whatever it may be. But a lot of the time it's a case of just like poor planning or an easy.
It's usually planning. Yeah,
it's poor planning or it's an easy excuse. Like now and again, fair enough. Like emergencies can happen, and it's like I just couldn't train. Fair enough. But a lot of the time it is poor planning. But like that's when I would almost be like look at it on a much sort of smaller scale. Like, could you have got to the gym? Oh yeah, I probably could have got to the gym. Yeah. Well, if you could have got to the gym, you could have trained. Yeah. Like, how long did you realistically have to train? Even though you maybe didn't plan it that well. Oh, I only had 45 minutes, so I just didn't train. Yeah. It's like, well, you still could have trained. Yeah, you probably still could have got your 2 main compound movements done. Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's better than just not doing anything at all. Yeah. And like, I think if you then work it up from that. Like, obviously, again, it's difficult. Not everybody's going to respond to that. But if you're somebody who's like, as soon as there's one small thing, small reason to go, oh, I just can't do it. It's like you've already lost. Like, you need to almost think of it as.
But I think life is like that in any way. Like, that's like those sorts of challenges. We notice it with clients. Like the clients that do well are the ones that are very resilient in the sense of if a few things pop up and it's like, oh God, that's a bit of a curveball, but they still respond.
They don't even tell you. They'll bring it up in the check-in.
Yeah, and you'll
like,
go,
it's nothing.
Yeah, you'll go, mate, haven't you mentioned this? Like, you should have told me about this. Yeah. But unfortunately, like, it's very much a case where one thing goes out of line. And like we said with our routine, like it's stressful, but you still got to turn up and get stuff done. Like there'll be probably a few times I can think of where like let's say might have had potentially, let's say when we were at the Arnold's and I think we had a few check-ins that were over for the following day. We still trained at the same time, but it was just like, oh, you've got work to do tonight. Yeah, I got a bit of work from yesterday. It's like, but like it wasn't where we were like, oh, let's just not train because I've got work to catch up on, or oh, let's just train at a different time and throw off all our meal timings, or let me wake up at a different time. Like, no, that's not going to happen, Yeah,
I think like especially I think your morning routine's so vital as well.
Start the day off right, guys.
Yeah. But no, it's true, isn't it? Like, if you wait, as soon as you wake up, I was saying this again to my client the other day. I was like, if you wake up at a time that you didn't intend to, you've already lost. Like, the first battle of the day, you've lost. So you're already on the back foot. It's
then
like you're 1-0
to have a cold shower.
Down.
Yeah,
like,
you have a cold shower.
But no, like let's say you're like, right, I'm getting up at 7, and you don't get up till 8:30. Like, you've already lost, and you're gonna feel good for that. Like, no, nobody's gonna feel good for that. Like. You might go, oh, but I just needed the sleep. Yeah, and it's like, oh, fair enough, I'd say go to bed earlier. But let's say you needed that sleep and you get up at 8:30. That's fine. You've got up at 8:30. You're an hour and a half behind. It doesn't mean the whole day's ruined.
As cringe as it sounds, my like accountability and technically like anxiety.
Oh, mate, 100%.
I don't need an alarm clock. I don't have an alarm. I wake up because I'm like, my head is like, right, you need to get up.
Yeah,
like
I do still set an alarm.
I haven't set an alarm for 2 years, 3 years. I just wake up at the same time because I go to bed at the same time. So I just wake up at the same time. Granted, though, prep actually is ruining that. I'm getting up like every week. I'm like, 20 minutes earlier, 20 minutes earlier, 20 minutes earlier. Like I woke up at like 5:45 today, which was 4:45 because the clocks went back, and I was like, feel fine, feel sound. But like I didn't even wake up to my alarm that was set for 6. So yeah.
So you just said you never set an alarm.
No, I did today because I lied. No, I haven't set an alarm for 2 years. I did today because I knew that we had to be out and about. So yeah, unless I've got a show, no alarm's set. No, so no wonder. So yes, I sleep through and just wake up and message Finn going, oh, I just woke up at 10 a.m. I don't know what's happened. I needed the sleep, clearly. But yeah, the longest time I slept, and we didn't even set an alarm, was when I was in Canada. We had, first day I was in Canada, we went to, well, let's say the first day. The day before, we were in Liverpool, and how long did we sleep for Liverpool Saturday night? Like 3 hours?
Yeah, it was a good night.
And then I flew to Canada that following day. and it was like the whole day of travelling. I slept on the plane for an hour, and I think we got into bed at 7:30 p.m. So now I like fell asleep straight away. I was like, I can't sleep at 7:30 p.m. Like I've got to stay up till like 8:39. I think I got maybe to 8, so I got about half hour later. And I think I woke up at like 11, so it was like 8 till 11, and I remember thinking to myself like, wow. That was amazing. No, it was amazing sleep. And it was like, I legitimately felt, no, I don't know if it was 11, it might have been 10. And I was like, that was the best sleep I've ever had. And then I was fine.
Maybe you need 14 hours sleep every night.
Yeah, clearly I need 14 hours sleep. I don't know what happened. This guy didn't sleep for like 3 days, that's why. So, yeah, fantastic. Right, do you want to get into the questions, mate?
Yeah, I think I've got a fair few now.
Yeah, I've got a few. I got one. I'm going to be honest, like, I wanted to almost start off with the actual kind of question because I genuinely didn't really get it. Like, it was basically off this guy, and he's asked us, should we say, not me, how do I progress because he's asked a few questions. Danny Regan, how to progress the pretor horizontal leg press. It's a literal slingshot, ? And I've read this earlier.
I don't think it's a literal slingshot.
Yeah, I don't really know, firstly, what the pretor horizontal leg press is and how to progress. Add load or add reps, bro?
Yeah.
Like,
it's a literal slingshot. So I imagine he's saying it's really light in the short and it gets really heavy in the length.
Yeah. Why do you do a split squat?
You could always change the exercise if it doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
You could manipulate the profile you could add a band, in which case the total load on the machine would be lighter. Maybe it will be less slingshotty.
Yeah.
If it's heavier in the shortened, that is.
Yeah, but if it's heavy in the short and you're adding a band, that's going to create a greater challenge in the short. So it's going to be like triple slingshot.
If it's a slingshot,
yeah, I'm thinking slingshot
that would mean
shortened.
But
I know you're thinking pulling back. What would you guys say? I'd say slingshot would be shortened. It would be heavy, even though technically you're pulling back, but it's at the end if you think about it.
Yeah. So if it's I imagine that it would be the short because then it's like, okay, I can control it. Control it.
It's like, oh,
yeah. So it's like mid to short. It's stupidly heavy.
Yeah.
In which case. Or that'd be mid to lengthened.
Get a video, Danny. Send it to us. Like, send a video over to us, and we'll have a look, and we'll see. Because I'd actually want to know how much of a slingshot it is.
No, it's a literal slingshot.
Literal slingshot. Right, fair enough.
I'm expecting to see you sat in a slingshot.
Yeah.
If it's literal.
Yeah. Sexy bastard. Much love. Thanks, Joe. Don't know who Joe is. Just Joe Huff. Sexy bastard. Much love. Much love to you, mate. Thank you. Do you want me to get them up? Right.
Yeah, you keep going.
What would you do as a coach if your client is facing financial problems after they signed up? So you got a client who signs up. Would you say, see you later, bro? You're not paying me? I think this is one of those sort of things from a coaching standpoint that it's quite awkward to deal with, and I think communication's essential in situations like this. And I also think as well it depends on the relationship with the client and where they're at. At the end of the day, like me and Finn and other coaches, it is a job. So we have to firstly have that respect between a client and a coach, that if you can't pay for a service, you don't get the service. However, there are situations where, for example, if a client was to be, let's say, in a really bad spot for a month, we'd have no issue at all if it was to be brought up honestly and open, let's say, and there was transparency regarding the situation, for us to say, right, cool, why don't you pay a month and a half the following month, or 2 months the following month, or why don't we sort some arrangement out so we can continue with the coaching. I've had a few clients where they will literally pause for maybe a brief period of time. I'll pause their payment, but I'll keep in the loop with them. I'll keep them on the sheets, and I'll say, right, just keep me in the loop with how things are. Send me over a check-in every couple of weeks. I don't need to get back to you a video check-in or whatever, and don't be sending me through loads of training cuts, but just keep me in the loop with how you're doing, keep that momentum there, because there are going to be periods of times where there's going to be financial stress or some hurdles that pop up that result in a client maybe not being able to adhere fully, and they might feel like they're wasting a little bit of their time and potentially your time. But then also, like, it's one of those sort of situations where it's very situation dependent. So I'd firstly, from a coaching standpoint, have a chat with the client. I'd kind of assess and see what their long-term goals are. Some people, unfortunately, will just say, I've got money issues, bro, and they just don't want to be coached. And therefore, it's like, right, cool, sound. See you later. There's going to be plenty of other clients, so I wouldn't take it personally. And it is frustrating when it happens, because there'll be plenty of times, we've probably had it multiple times, where, let's say, within the first couple of weeks, couple of months, there's an issue and you've put a lot of time into this individual already, and you're like, well, I've not even really got anything out of this client. I've not even really coached them that well, but they can't continue. And again, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, from a coaching perspective, we'll try and give the framework for them still to be able to do what they need to. But then obviously, like I said, if they can't pay, it can be a bit awkward at times.
I think as well, setting up, like, we don't obviously have like a startup cost. but like we'll say, right, it's a 3-month introductory period where, let's say, you can't cancel within that first 3 months. And I think ultimately that, not only does that often put people off who are maybe
thinking about
not financially stable,
or no, also thinking about maybe just coming in, coach hopping, jumping on for a month.
But
or
also,
two.
like, if you're somebody who thinks, right, like, can I actually afford this regularly? Because I'm gonna have to do at least 3 months minimum. If you're even questioning that, I'd say probably wait until you're in a slightly better position, because 3 months is still a very short period of time. Like, have you ever seen somebody make an insane amount of progress just over 3 months?
And the way we
obviously
coach
you'll see
isn't like that.
Yeah, you'll see like transformation posts that's like 4 weeks, like whatever. But
there's coaches for that. That's the thing. Like, there are coaches who are strictly like transformation coaches, where it's like point A, point B, fast as possible, pretty efficient service, not too much time. I say to clients when they sign up or when they apply on their application response, like, I put a hell of a lot of time into my clients. It's not just your generic 1-2 minute check-ins. It's a very in-depth process that's individually kind of attenuated towards your goals and your needs. And as a result of that, I expect a minimum of 3 months. And I also say as well, I want to work with people on a medium to long-term setting. And if that scares somebody where they go, oh, I was only thinking about this for short-term, cool. I'm not in the position where I need clients for short-term. I don't need clients who are going to be short-term. So, and I think that's probably a case of building up the level of kind of, not respect for yourself as a coach, but what you're after. The way me and you coach and how we hold ourselves.
Get to that point, you can't be like that. No chance either of us would have been like that when it's like our first clients. No. It takes time to get to that point.
Be like, yeah, bro, I'll coach you for how much can you do? You said 20 quid. Yeah, okay, cool. I'll do it 20 quid. I'll do it for 15 if you want.
But I think, like you say, it's the most important thing is just being like honest and open. Like I always say, like at the start of coaching, like the first phase is about building a relationship with the client, getting foundations in place. Like, if that client then doesn't feel comfortable after a couple of months, if they're struggling financially, if they don't feel comfortable to tell me, then that's either like because we've not built that relationship and that rapport, and usually that's because that client's maybe not putting in the effort that is required. Yeah. Like, the only times that we don't build a good relationship with a client is if they're probably not pulling their weight. Yeah. And even if they're just not communicating. It's literally communication. I don't mind if a client's struggling or if they're not pulling their weight, as long as they're communicating as to what they're struggling with and why they're not pulling their weight. Otherwise, how am I supposed to help? You're just paying me for me to then moan at you for not like communicating with me. But yeah, like, I think we've covered that in enough detail. Like, just communicate and actually explain the situation. I think people are so proud as well. Like, people are too scared to say, like, I'm struggling financially. People are so worried.
I remember I asked a guy for a logo when I was like 6 months into coaching, and he told me the price, and it was like 500 quid. And I ended up paying like a year and a half ago, 500 quid for a logo. But when he sent it through to me, I was like, oh mate, I literally have like 6 clients. I can't justify spending £500 for I'm not making that for like 3 months, 4 months. And again, I think a lot of people have that, so like not ego, but like it's like an insecurity, and it's like, it's cool. People have money issues. Like me and Finn, when we were younger, have had money issues where we probably had to do stuff and be like, I can't afford that. I can't afford this. You
have to budget within your means, don't you?
It's part of it. So
there's no shame in that.
No, we wouldn't think badly.
The amount of times where someone won't get back to you from an application, and then you'll message them, or they'll get back to you in a month and go, "Oh, sorry, mate, I should have messaged you. I just haven't got the funds at the minute, but hopefully I will soon."
I have way more respect if somebody.
100%.
I had a lad that wanted to sign up, and he messaged me like after he said, "I'm ready to sign up. I just need to check something," and he said, "Mate, I've just checked. I don't think I'll be able to afford it, but I really want us to get started." And I dropped him a voice and said, "Mate, I massively appreciate the honesty. Like, you could have easily just not replied. I'm only a message away. Drop me over a message when you get started."
You're in a better position.
Yeah, sound.
And how often do you actually then, in a couple of months, they come back and
you'll see a message. I'll see a message come through, and I'll go, "I recognise that name." Yeah. And then you'll check and you go, "Okay, cool, yeah, sound." And that's another client. Yeah. And a bit more money. That's all it is. All about money. All about money here at Team RFit and FK Physiques. Give us money. Pay us, please. Yeah.
This is from Skeb Oddle. He asked us a lot of questions.
He's asked. He DM'd me today, I think.
Favourite alcoholic drink?
All of them. Pints. Yeah. Any pint. Beer. Pints.
When I was on holiday, I just kept going up and saying, "Can I have a pint?" And they'd usually say, "What? Of what?"
Anything. Any pint of anything, mate.
Give me a pint of vodka one time.
Fair enough.
Went for it. To be fair, when the first, like, they think it's funny, but I didn't find it funny. The first, like, 3 or 4 times I asked for a bottle of water, they said vodka, like, jokingly. And I was like, "No, water." Like they must get some right laughs from the Brits, and I was just like, it's not fun, is it? I've asked for water, not asked for vodka.
Yeah, vodka, water.
Mate, the amount of times there were like these slushy machines that they had like for the all inclusive, and like me and Shannon would get like a lemon one or a strawberry one like mid afternoon now and again when we were like walking back from the food. And every time they'd go with alcohol, like it was like the fact that we weren't having alcohol, it was weird. They were like, no rum, no vodka, no gin. And we're like, no, we just want the slush.
I don't want to ruin my lemon slushy.
Yeah, we literally just want the slush, thank you. Like,
right, so what would you go for? I like those spiced rums that we had when we were like, I thought that was quite nice.
Like spiced
I'd just go for a vodka and Coke. I am the least, mate, I'm such a...
You like baby Guinness, didn't you?
I don't like any. I think all alcohol, as long as anything that doesn't taste like alcohol, I'm like, yes, sounds right. I'm such an inexperienced alcohol drinker. Like Finn, like Finn would tell me, have this, you will like this, and I'll go, okay, yeah.
The only reason I know that is from like being at a wedding where someone told me that, and I was like, oh, I
don't have those experiences because I've got no friends.
When I went to Matt's wedding, this one guy like just bought me and Shannon a baby Guinness, and I was like, what the fuck's a baby Guinness? And it's incredible. It's like obviously it looks like a small baby Guinness, but it's not Guinness. It's like,
I don't even remember what it
and
tastes,
something else. Oh, it's good.
Like.
I like gin and lemonade.
Yeah,
that's like whenever me and Shannon get a drink, we'll get that.
Fish for the rest of your life or chicken for the rest of your life? Chicken, easy. I won't even think about it. That being said, I haven't had fish since I was about 3 years old, so yeah,
I'd say fish.
Yeah, clearly I'm missing out on the omega-3s.
Yeah, I was going to say, for the quality essential fats. But there's so many different forms of fish.
Yeah, it's like, meat is like, we could easily say like lean poultry. Poultry?
Yeah, but then what have you got? You got turkey,
but
chicken. Is there anything else?
Yeah, true.
Duck, is that classed as poultry?
Yeah, there'd probably be another one. Like, yeah, I'm not too sure.
But fish, I mean, with fish, do you get like, is it seafood or is it just fish?
I don't know, mate. Whatever you want. It just says fish or chicken.
Okay, we're not taking that seriously. No.
It's from Jason 2003060.
007.
No, 00 just. Right.
Taylor White says, one of my clients. Thanks for the question, mate. Do you both coach young dads / mums, and is it difficult coaching them?
Yeah, 100% no. Yeah, we've coached a few people. Me and Finn at this point have probably coached like a wide range of people. Definitely wouldn't say. No, I've never coached a grandma. Actually, no, I've coached a granddad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, coach a granddad. We've coached a lot of people. It's definitely not in our like ideal line of clientele. Like it's not where we're not having granddads sign up. We're not like we are looking for three males. Three granddads has to be a granddad. Males over 40.
No matter how old you are, you have to be a granddad.
Have to be a granddad.
You could
who
be
are wanting to take
70.
their physique to the next level. And then the following week we are looking for 3 grandmas.
And then 3 young bikini athletes. Complete opposite. Anybody. We're looking for 3 anybodies.
Yeah, we've only got 3 spaces though, so they go out quick.
Real quick.
Yeah, and
that's why I keep begging for them every week.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and is it difficult? I think family and lifestyle situations can be difficult, but then at the same time, like these are sort of the individuals where it's very much it's goal dependent. So like I had a client who signed up and he was like, I just want to enjoy a bit of flexibility on the weekends, but I want to be on it when I can be on it, and when I need to have some family time, I need to have some family time. So I was like, right, cool, Sam, we'll set you a high day per week, 2 high days per week. They can be like with an off-plan meal. Your food will be intentionally a little bit lower on your lesser, let's say, days where you're on it. We'll just push cardio up when appropriate. And it was a relatively good project. And we had, I think it was one of the Team Outfit posts that I posted like a year and a half ago. And it was a really, really good project. But again, it's going to be phase dependent. If he was like, oh, I want to step on stage, but I also want to have family time, I'd be like, well, unfortunately, mate, like if family time is going to the zoo or going bowling, like me and Finn go bowling all the time, sound crack on. But if it's like family times, I'm having a takeaway on a Friday night and you want to step on stage, it's like, yeah, you might want to leave that for 16 weeks.
You just got to actually discuss goals and then outline the expectations to reach those goals.
Yeah.
And for young parents, whether it be, somebody who is, let's say, a single parent, or whether they're in a relationship, whatever it may be. Like I've coached people in really difficult situations where they might be working multiple jobs and they've got a young kid or a couple of kids and they're looking after them on their own. It's like that's really difficult. So I'm not going to be saying, right, well, let's do an hour of cardio a day and then let's do this and let's do that. It's like, right, okay, what are your actual goals? And for most people in that scenario, it's to feel good, to feel healthy, to feel like I've got energy for my kids, and to be a good example for them. Like that's what usually those kind of people will have as their goals. It's like, okay, well, we can easily do that in terms of let's just put good habits in place. Let's really focus on establishing a good routine for yourself, for your kids, for your work life. And then ultimately, let's just try and make sure that you're enjoying your training. You know, those type of clients might be on 2-3 sessions a week.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's a bodybuilding client, they're on 4 or 5 sessions a week. So it is literally that you have to coach to the situation and the individual. But it's definitely more difficult than a student who hasn't got a kid that they have to look after. So you've got to definitely work around it.
Yeah. Right. Jason 1. Shout out Jason. Met him in Canada. Jason 1. What's your recreational drug experience like? I've never done a single recreational drug. Only steroids.
I've never done any drugs.
You never done anything?
Never touched anything.
Really?
Really?
You smoked a cigarette?
No.
Good. Neither have I.
Good. Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Good. Well done.
Well done, mate. Well done. Proud of you.
Yeah. No, I think this is probably what has helped me in business and in coaching. I am the opposite of somebody who is like easily led.
I think we're both similar.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
I remember at parties I'd have like people going, "Oh, Reece, like even like let's say I wasn't drinking, they'd be like, have a sip of this." I'd be like, "No, I'm not drinking."
I'd rather go against the grain.
Yeah.
Like even when I was growing up, like if there was a band that loads of people liked, I deliberately wouldn't like them because I was like
an edgy hater.
To an extent, yeah. But I think in certain ways that's actually
situations
helped
it's
me.
good to kind of go away from the norms because
mate, think about how look at our lives.
Oh yeah,
it is not the norm in any way. No. Like it's the opposite if you like to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Like I think I literally thought that earlier. You know when we went to the show and I had my two meals or 3 meals and your meals in my bag.
Yeah.
And the people opened up my bag to check it. Yeah. And they were like, "Yeah, just don't eat the food in there." And I thought to myself, I was like, surely they're saying that to everyone, but they must know that almost everyone here is probably a coach or a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
People are going to eat their meals in there. Like, so why are they even saying that?
Yeah.
They know that people aren't going to do that. Like, but for a normal event for them, no one's taking food to the town hall to watch a comedy show or something. I thought that earlier. I was like, bodybuilding is odd that it's just normal that I imagine everyone in here has got food in their bag.
Yeah.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you go to a normal place and probably no one's got food in their bag.
Yeah, exactly. I go to a football game and in my car I've got every meal prepared.
Mate, but when we went and watched Kyle and I brought out a post-workout Cocoa Pops and Kyle's dad was like, "Is that even legal?"
Yeah, when we went to Northern Ireland and like we had to go through with the foods and stuff and they were like checking it. No one else checks.
I looked for Roy the other day, wasn't there?
No, you're not. Bless him. Shout out Roy.
Shout out to Roy if you're watching.
Yeah, almost got him sacked.
Yeah.
Your favourite cheat meal, bro? I'd just go for a pizza, but I think that's because I have a pizza with like my mum, and like if I was to have a pizza now,
bed.
Mate, what are you saying? Don't say that on the podcast, God. No, I'd say a pizza. Like I have a pizza with my mum, like every other weekend, pretty much.
What, even now?
I was in my off season. No, not now, bro. I'm way too lean. You see how lean I am? Jesus Christ, I'm gonna be able to budget that.
You know what? I didn't have pizza for months.
But that's the only food. But I only enjoy that because it's like it's an event that I'll just be like, "Oh, sound. I'll just get food with my mum."
You know what I think? Like it's not a great protein source.
No, but I'm not a massive fan of like pizza. I'd say a burrito. I'd have a burrito every other week. I'd have a burrito with Sanaya. That's how it worked. It was either like pizza or burrito.
How many off-plan meals are you,
mate? Every other week. So like they'd interchange. So it would be literally like burrito, following week pizza, burrito, pizza, something like that. And that was like my only 2 real off-plan meals. And like, other than that, I'm like, we walked out the PCA show today, and there were like these cookie donut things, and I just looked and thought that looks absolutely vile.
I couldn't. 10.
Yeah, Finn had loads. I couldn't imagine anything worse. Like I think of the generic sort of off-plan food, and I'm just going like, no chance.
Yeah, like that's when they said cheat meal.
Yeah.
Cheat meal in my mind, I think of poor quality food.
Yeah, I just think of crap. That just makes me feel
like I wouldn't want a burger.
No.
Like the thought of a Five Guys, I just don't like it.
No.
I've had burgers in the past, and I just don't think burgers are ever good quality, and they don't really sit well. Mackey's and KFC and stuff like that, I just think it's awful quality food.
Yeah, awful. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say probably something like Nando's. To be fair, like I think is a really good off-plan meal because it's nice food and you don't feel worse for it. Apart from when I nearly died that time. Yep. To be fair, Oodles Chinese in Loughborough is good.
Bit greasy.
It is a bit greasy, but you get a lot of chicken.
Yeah, you get a lot. You get a lot of chicken, but it is a bit greasy.
Yeah. Plan burrito is good.
Yep. I think
and pizza. Yeah, pizza. Like But I think, like I say, the thing with pizza is when most places when you get pizza, you don't get enough protein on it. Like you can get chicken and double chicken and triple chicken, and it's still not enough.
No, it's like probably 25 grams of protein.
And then you might get like, I'll get a chicken side, and then it's like really greasy.
Yeah, and then it's like literally 30 grams of fat, like 18 grams of protein.
That's the only downside. Pizza would be my go-to, but that is the downside.
Yeah, no, okay, fair enough.
Right, next one. Mac and Morris. I think Mac and Morris is taking the piss with this one.
Okay.
Who achieves more this year out of you two?
Yeah.
I mean, even if I was to win every show and go and win worlds, no one cares. Well, if you win your pro card, it's the best thing in the world.
Oh, yeah,
even though everyone's got one and it doesn't really mean anything.
They hand them out like they're going out of fashion now.
That is literally true, though, right? If I was to, and this won't happen, but if it did, if I was to win every show and go and win worlds, that is less of an achievement than you getting your pro card.
Yeah, 100%. But that's because
But I don't think it is. That's what I'm saying.
Do you not think like winning, like if you think about it, I went undefeated in League Two, or winning the FA Cup, or like winning the Premier League. That's going to be way more. No, but like the scale.
You're trying to say Natty bodybuilding League Two?
Okay, no. Okay, what about women's football? Women's football is natural bodybuilding. No, if you think about it, popularity, notoriety, like sponsorships, viewership, all that sort of stuff. It's definitely a lesser viewed sort of venue, which I don't agree with.
I don't know if it is at the amateur. I think at the top
end,
level of bodybuilding, fair
the potential,
enough, but we're just winning your pro card.
Yeah. You can be an average pro. How many guys do you see on Instagram that says IFBB pro, and you're like,
what? That's what I mean. Yeah. Like, so for me, like, let's say if this was the scenario, me doing all that versus you just winning a pro card.
Yeah, that would be like me winning the Olympia, like, like going.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. That'd be the equivalent, and like that's like it's quite funny.
Well, it'd be like you winning like the amateur Olympia, let's say.
Yeah. What winning?
Because if I was to do all that, I wouldn't then.
Yeah.
Well, unless you did it as a pro and then won it as a pro, but it's online.
Yeah, I don't think I'll win the Olympia.
So the answer is Reece. Thanks for asking though, Macca, and making me feel really shit about myself.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm joking, mate. I hope you're good. I hope Gabby's good as well.
Yeah,
she looks like
she's.
How many
weeks out is she?
There's 2 in there, though, isn't there?
Yeah, 2. Yeah, so I'm guessing like she looks bigger than what she needs to. Yeah. No offense, Gabby.
I don't think
the babies, the 2 babies inside of you, not you.
I don't think she'd take offense.
And do you need to? Would you need to eat more to feed 2?
Yeah, she's on 8,000 calories.
8,000, fair enough. The Finn Kelly peak bulk. That's what it is.
This was Alex Rob Ross, whose bodybuilding reign was harder and better. Dorian, Ronnie, Phil. It's quite a good question. Good question, mate.
Well, if you think
who was in a harder era?
I would say Ronnie. Jay.
I don't know. Yeah, but he only had
Phil.
Jay.
Only had Kai, and he had a finished Jay by the time he came up.
I would say.
And Phil was so much better than Kai, like in 9. Yeah.
Who did Dorian have against him though? He was like in that Ronnie era.
Was it like Nassau or somebody? Whatever was he in it at that time? I don't know if he was. For some reason, his name popped up. I don't know if they even competed against each other. I mean, Ronnie.
I don't know enough about.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, like who they were up against, and
although Dorian's era it wasn't far from Ronnie's era, was it?
No, it was like 90s, and then Ronnie was like late 90s, early 2000s,
and Phil was late 2000s,
and Jay was like late 90s, early 2000s, like 2011, I think, and then Phil took over.
Yeah, but Phil was
that point,
like even just before that.
Who do you think's the best out of them? Like, I genuinely think Phil Heath, in the sense of, I think Ronnie's a freak. I think Ronnie's a freak. Well, so you take Ronnie over Dorian and Phil?
Yeah, I think Ronnie's the best. Okay. Yeah, you put whose reign was better, harder and better. I think Ronnie was the best. I don't know who I'd say was harder. I don't know enough of the guys from back then. I know more from Phil's era, so I'd probably say Phil's era was hardest because I know more. But I don't. Even then, I'm still not like, oh yeah, there was all these guys. Like, for all I know, there were loads of great guys back then. Like,
don't compare to the Lord and Saviour, Chris Bumstead. Yeah, the best guy to ever do it.
But I just think when you think bodybuilder and you think bodybuilding, like especially people who are kind of in the know of bodybuilding, I feel like you probably think Ronnie.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like you'd be like,
I don't think you think Phil because I think it's too soon. Maybe in 30 years people will think Phil.
Yeah.
But I think you think Arnold, Ronnie,
Or Dorian, Ronnie.
Yeah, Dorian, I would say
I think Dorian's only there as like a bit of a cult hero.
Yeah.
I think people just view Dorian because it was a bit different. It was someone new, and it was like a different style. It was someone a bit different. So yeah. Right. How often have you needed to deload or reduce volume during prep? So far, I've had one deload, and I've had a devolume rotation to follow. That's pretty much going to be for a 16-week prep the only time that's going to be needed, because I'll be soon to be at baseline volume within the next 4 weeks, and then it will be a case where I'll be stage condition and I won't really have my volume any higher than baseline volume, because there'll be really no point. For you, deload, devolume,
pretty much breaking my prep into a certain amount of stints. So after the first 6 weeks, I'll have a deload. And then after another 6 weeks, I'll have a deload. And then, to be fair, after another 7 weeks, I'm prepping. I'm competing.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Well, you just step on the gas.
Yeah. So it's basically 2 stints, 6 week block, deload, 6 week block, deload. So obviously that's actually 14 weeks. And then within another 7, that'll be 21 weeks. Then next week is basically the show week. And then the week of the show, obviously training isn't going to be insanely demanding, especially towards the end. If anything, it'll be baseline volume or devolume sessions, or even pump sessions right towards the end. Yeah. So that kind of is like a deload week, if you like, or devolume/deload week, because you're probably going to end up having maybe a couple of sessions off as well. So if you think, let's say the show's Sunday and you usually train Saturday, you probably wouldn't train Saturday. You might do a bit of a pump session, but you probably wouldn't train Saturday. You probably wouldn't even train the Monday after. You could do, but you might not. It depends on when your next show would be. Yeah. Maybe even depends on how fatigued you are on that Monday, because you can be battered after posing for potentially a while if it's quite a competitive class. Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of how I would structure that out. You could always have an 8-week block and then maybe shorten those blocks as you go through. So 8 week, then a 6 week, then a 4 week potentially. But yeah, towards the end, especially if you're ready early, right towards the end, yes, you're still in a depleted state and you're still in a fatigued state compared to how you would be peak off season, but you feel incredible when you're eating a lot of food and you're shredded. You just feel great. So your training, it doesn't feel demanding at the end. Right at the end, it feels demanding when you're digging, and when you're trying to get leaner, it feels awful. Your training towards the end is awful, but outside of that, once your sort of digging's been done and you're shoveling loads of carbs in and your steps maybe a bit lower, your training feels amazing. So it's never overly demanding at that point. So I probably wouldn't say if you have a show, then a week off, then a show, then a week off, then a show, you don't need to be planning a deload within any of that, because you're fueling up anyway, and you're going to be at baseline volume. You shouldn't be on high volume or sessions that are going to be overly demanding anyway.
Roof, yeah, exactly. Right, so why maintain before cutting? Only to marinate the muscle in speech marks, or also to be more responsive to the deficit? This is, if anything, just classic 2023. This is what we literally take the piss out of. Marination phases, marinating now. It's one of them where maintenance phases is what people call them. And I think a reset phase or a holding phase makes complete sense. This is something we've been saying. We used to run gaining phases where we'd have intentional holding phases, and we still do with plenty of clients where it gets a little bit sloppy, hold body weight, solidify that current set point, reassess after 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. The softer you are, the longer the amount of time. Unfortunately, nowadays, a lot of people think, my food's so high, I'm so fatigued. As we said at the start of the podcast, I need to do this. I need to drop food. There's going to be a time where having a slight reset is important, but I would really question, when it comes to marination, probably just training as hard as possible with the most amount of food is probably going to marinate the most amount of muscle. And then also, when it comes to being responsive to the deficit, ideally having the highest amount of food, so your metabolic rates shifted at the highest points. When you drop it down, there's a bigger significant change. Probably going to make sense, bro. So it's one of them where this is very much a 2022, 2023. I can't be in a gaining phase. Everything's this. I have to be doing a maintenance phase, because maintenance phases are easy. You do less volume. You don't push food. You do maybe a little bit of cardio, but you don't do anything too strenuous. And it's cool, sound. You just want to
easy life.
Yeah, you don't want to actually push yourself.
The thing is, I completely understand. You don't want to be going from peak off season into prep.
No.
So I completely understand that. And that's where I think a pre-prep diet comes in, or even just a deload before prep. we'll always plan for ourselves or for clients to have a deload before prep. It means you potentially have the chance to go away on a holiday. It means even if you don't go away on a holiday, you have the chance to have a couple of social meals, in light of thinking I probably not going to be able to do this for maybe the next 4 to 6 months, maybe more. So you can have a couple of off-plan meals. You're going to drop off a lot of fatigue, obviously, from like you would from training, but also sort of psychologically as well if you do get to go on a holiday, something like that. So exactly what I've just done in terms of going away to Morocco, I didn't need to have a 6-month maintenance phase before that. Like I had the pre-prep,
6 months,
and then I gained gradually, very gradually from then. Like I gained really slowly.
Yeah.
I'd say I gained like really slow. It was like 10 pounds over the space of like 5-6 months. So it's a real steady rate of gain. Yeah, but even then it's still a couple of pounds a month. It's not stupidly slow.
Yeah.
Like it's like a half a pound a week or so on average. It's not like a crazy slow rate of gain, but you're not going from like, for example, if you do a pre-prep diet, I think a lot of people, we can sort of cover this as well. A lot of people think that phase, and we've spoke about it with clients, they think that phase in between means get back to where you were before.
Max food, max training volume, max everything.
That's the opposite of what you want to do. Like you've just done the pre-prep, so you don't start in that position. So that's not the goal. The goal is to work your food up, but keep yourself significantly leaner than you were peak off season. Keep general stress and fatigue relatively low, which you want to do at all times anyway, and be in a really good spot for the prep. But if you're not in an amazing spot for the prep, then make sure you take a deload prior. And for some people that might be 4 days, it might be 5 days. For some people it might be 7 days, 10 days. If you have someone who's in a really stressed environment and you think, right, they're going to benefit from a little bit more time off, give them a bit more time off. But yeah, the actual goal or benefit of a maintenance phase, in my opinion, is minimal in terms of what you can get out of just having a deload before prep anyway, and not being an idiot before prep and trying to eat a stupid amount of food.
Yeah, no, makes sense. How many more have you got, mate?
Not too many. J Murphy Fitness, favourite exercise of each muscle group based on enjoyment, not effectiveness.
Okay,
so a good question.
Right, we're just going to do, I don't want to say calves, nothing's enjoyable for calves. Let's move on.
Really.
So quads, enjoyment, leg press, pivot leg press, squat press.
Yeah,
or like
squat press.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, to be fair, you could argue would be for effectiveness as well.
Yeah, exactly. Hamstrings, probably
some form of stiff leg.
Stiff leg, yeah. Pull from the floor.
Much more enjoyable than a hamstring curl.
Yeah, I just love the seated life in the hamstring curl. It's so good. I love it.
I would probably put within that. Maybe if I was to pick a glute movement that I would actually enjoy, I'd say a Smith machine hip thrust.
Yeah, I was thinking like a fucking heavy Smith hip thrust would be fun.
Abs, what do you enjoy doing?
The amazing Nautilus ab crunch, so good.
Only the one at the gym dock
the lying, that's hanging punch. You punch my
not
abs.
Not effective, but they are
not
fun.
Effective, fun.
Really
yeah,
fun.
It burns and it just shows the people who really want
enjoyable.
it. Yeah, we then we have back.
Yeah, buddy row.
Yeah, buddy row. Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. Yeah, buddy row.
Nah,
yeah, buddy row.
I don't enjoy yeah, buddy row because it just fucks me up, my hips especially.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would say maybe a T-bar.
Yeah, like a heavy. To be fair, I like the low row. Like a good low row, pretty sound. We've got low row is what I'd go with.
I'd go with maybe a chest supported T-bar because I think there's so many different options. If you get quite a good one, it is good.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go for shoulder, like chest. Yeah, chest. Flat bench.
Yeah, it is enjoyable.
It's enjoyable, isn't it? Yeah, it has to be a barbell flat bench. Flat bench or like a nice Smith. Yeah. Nah, flat bench has to be a flat bench.
More enjoyable.
Yeah, has to be a flat bench. And then
shoulders, probably Cybex shoulder press.
Yeah.
Got some good memories on that.
Yeah. That's it.
Arms. Dumbbell curl, like an incline dumbbell curl or just a standing dumbbell curl.
Triceps. Close grips. Yeah, dip, 100%. Yeah, good answer. Neck. Just eat a lot of food, bro. Do the Josh Jenkins protocol. Eat as much food as you can. And just therefore look at your neck. Congrats, you've made it. Right, so after years of not training, is 4 years a realistic time scale to step on stage on a Natty stage? I'm sorry, mate, but it's going to depend on how you look. Like, how's your genetic response? How were you before? Imagine you train for like 15 years, you don't train for a few years, and you just train again. Like, you're going to look wicked after like 6 months to a year. You're going to be I actually look pretty good. So, yeah, literally, it depends how you look, unfortunately.
I would say 4 years for most people is probably enough time to compete and not look massively out of place.
No, yeah.
But I wouldn't say 4 years is enough time to be at the top of that given sort of competition.
Yeah.
That level. Natty 5-a-side team. Who's getting picked?
What do you mean? Like, out of all people that we know?
I'm playing because I'm elite at football.
Okay, captain, Mr.
AJ
MBW,
Morris.
AJ Morris. AJ Morris is the captain. He's going to have a free role.
Nah, AJ's the manager.
AJ would be the manager.
Yeah.
I could imagine him calling the shots.
Yeah.
Right, we going for.
I'm pulling the strings.
Okay, so you're what, deep line playmaker, centre back. Like,
if you think, in 5-a-side,
so then
the best players at
two
centre-back.
on the wing, like 2 midfielders,
And a
like
striker,
up and down,
a
and a striker.
goalkeeper.
Okay, so goalkeeper.
Who's a really fat Natty that can go in goal?
Oh god,
It's just the fat kids go in goal.
yeah, fat Natty. Who pushed up? You peak off season.
Jake Brayley.
Brayley. Brayley would have been a good shout for this.
Brayley, why did you have to go on gear? You'd have been fantastic in goal.
Any tall natties that we're like, Jesus Christ, you're a long individual.
Tell you what, Elliot Gibson.
Slater
was
get Slater,
Elliot Gibson's very tall.
Okay.
But I don't know whether he'd be. The thing is, 5-a-side keepers don't need to be that tall.
No,
if anything,
they
you need to be short and stocky and
Yeah.
fat. So who have we got that's short and stocky and fat?
Sean Mackey.
Sean Mackey, yeah, he's got great legs.
You're not fat. You're just a smaller, like bulked up individual. Sean Mackey.
Sean Mackey, you're in
That's a
goal.
good shout. That,
He'll love that as well.
Yeah. We then got either wing. So like these need to be getting up and down the pitch well.
They need to be quite lean year round, quite fit.
Josh Seafit, Josh Campbell.
You think?
Yeah, I think.
He's lean year
He's
round.
lean,
I'm
isn't
thinking,
he?
you think
Yeah.
he's the ball. I mean, he was doing kick-ups when he went bowling. He's quite good.
Yeah. Any natties that
Josh,
we
do you
think?
want to play? Do you want to play left wing?
Yeah. George Osborne.
George Osborne used to be good at football.
Okay, George
He's
Osborne.
not natty.
Oh, he's not natty now, is he? I thought he was. Still
Yeah,
thought he
still
was.
looks
Sorry,
it.
George.
Still looks
Sorry,
it, George.
Up the dose, bro.
That's Reece telling you that he's still not natty.
Yeah, up the dose.
I don't actually. I'm trying to think of people who are actually good at football.
Yeah, who would be?
I think Ethan.
Yeah, Mbappe.
The thing is, you're looking at good. Yeah, you're looking at people who are probably good natties,
yeah.
and you're going, well, if they're good at bodybuilding, they might be good at football.
What about Con Lewis? He's got the hair trait. He's got the Renato
Yeah.
Sanchez hair, Rude Hullet sort
I
of
can
hair
imagine
vibe.
him being rapid on the
Yeah, I
wing.
can imagine him just like dropping a shoulder, bodying someone. Yeah,
Him on the right.
yeah.
I reckon put Mbappe on the left.
About Ethan.
Ethan,
Kevin.
that's you. Ethan.
And then who up top? Who could be like?
Josh, I don't think you've made it.
Josh is
Josh is a winger on the bench at the minute.
Yeah, who up top?
If he does well this year, he'll get a starting place.
What about the guy that trains with Josh Croggan? Is it like Will's Fitness?
Yeah,
he's tall.
Will J.
Yeah.
Why don't we actually have Josh in it? You're just ignoring
Josh Croggan. I don't think Josh Croggan will be good at football.
No, don't think he's good at many things, is he?
No.
Yeah, we could have Will. I don't know if he's any good at football.
Keefe.
Yeah. To be fair,
he'd be good.
You can't have a natty team without Keefe and AJ.
Yeah. AJ manager, Keefe up top. Fair enough. Any subs that we can
I
think
feel
of?
like Keefe would be good in goal.
Yeah.
He's just stocky.
Hmm.
Any subs?
Thorburn. If you get his mentality right, he'd be an animal. Run through brick walls.
Thorburn's AJ's assistant.
Yeah. If Thorburn, you don't get his
It's
mentality
like good
right.
cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
You go back in at half time and AJ's all calm and
Thorburn's
Thorburn's throwing
like,
things around the change room.
Yeah, you can imagine that actually. That'd be really good. Right, so we have a few more. Hey there, how you doing? Great.
Good,
Thanks. Do you need to keep your scapula / shoulders down during rear delt flies?
I would actually say you need to keep it slightly protracted.
I'd keep them slightly protracted, yeah.
So don't keep it down or
Yeah, I wouldn't
back,
retract.
like-
I wouldn't retract and try and
No.
it's not going to feel that good.
just almost let them sit where they would naturally sit. The thing is, it's like rear delts, people do struggle with engaging them and connecting with them. I think they almost, because when you're looking at any upper back movement, people are thinking about pulling through the upper back. And then when you're doing a rear delt fly, it feels like maybe I should pull through my upper back. But it's almost the opposite. So try and actually think to protract, to let your shoulders move forward very slightly. And then you're thinking to just drive out. Try not to think back. The range of motion is not going to be huge. Like my rear delt is short here. Like if I go and do this, like I'm basically just bringing more trap and more rhomboid into it.
Yeah.
Not that your rear delt gets completely sort of disinvolved. It doesn't just stop contracting when you bring your scapula into it, but it's almost like saying when you do a chest press, your chest is contracted here. If you let your shoulders protract, your chest is still contracted to an extent, but it's not going to be doing as much, and other areas are going to come into it. So yeah, think slight protraction and then try and keep it there as you're driving the elbows out rather than back.
Yeah.
Josh Croggan's asked, when can I come and play?
Oh, soon.
Yeah,
Josh will definitely be one person we get on.
Yeah.
It's a shame, like, me and Finn are both prepping, because it would have been good, like, obviously not where we need food, but it would have been good to have, like, had a session.
Don't tell anyone, we'll go for food.
Yeah, had a session podcast, or podcast session food or whatever, or session podcast food. Yeah, we can do some bowling or whatever. So 100%, Josh. Right, I've got a few more, but I'll get back to them next week in the sense of I don't want to just drag them on.
Okay, I'll leave it there.
Sound cool.
Will Razzo won't be happy because his question literally says, "Why do you ignore my questions, guys?" We're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it, mate. We're gonna leave it until next week.
Will who?
Will who? Yeah.
Right. That's it.
Mr. Sausage.
Thanks, guys. That's it. Pretty much. Thanks for the story tags. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the shares. I would say thanks for the subscriptions, but 170.
Yeah, come on, let's get that
guys,
up above 200.
We put too much time and effort into this.
And money.
We've put so much time and effort. We need to be rewarded. 170 subscribers. Sort it out. Right. That's it. That's pretty much that. We'll catch you guys next week. See you later. Bye-bye.